Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely reframe something that, well, almost all of us think we understand, but actually, very few of us really do, and that's leadership. If you've ever felt like, you just don't have what it takes to lead, or maybe you kind of shrink away from taking charge because it just doesn't fit your personality, stick with me. We're going to uncover some absolutely fascinating insights together that reveal the hidden leadership literally already inside you. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive into this. When you hear the question, do you think you lack leadership? What's your immediate gut reaction? For a whole lot of us, the answer is a heavy, maybe slightly insecure, yeah, I do, right? We look at the people running the show and we think, I'm just not like that. We end up feeling inadequate because we don't naturally fit into this incredibly narrow mold of what society tells us a leader is supposed to look and sound like. But what if the way you're measuring yourself is just completely flawed?
That brings us to Section 1, the loud leadership myth.
We really need to unpack that stereotypical image of a leader loudly barking orders at the front of a room or making these lightning-fast decisions under pressure. Consider the mythical leader on the left. These are the CEOs and politicians making the daily news headlines, right? They're decisive, their words are sharp, and they physically pull people forward. Because this is kind of the only type of leader we ever see celebrated, we just automatically assume it's the only valid way to lead. But then look at the everyday reality on the right. When we measure our quieter, maybe more thoughtful selves against that super loud myth, we end up feeling inadequate. We doubt our own potential. We assume that just because our voice isn't the absolute loudest in the room, we have no power. And there's simply no way that's true.
Our source material brings up a really compelling pop culture example here, Griffith from the series Berserk. He basically represents this ultimate, charismatic, visionary ideal. He has this totally unique, undeniable magnetism that just draws people into his grand vision. And sure, let's be real, this alpha type is incredibly fun to watch and super easy to admire. But the danger here is believing that everyone needs to aim for this exact same mold. If you don't possess that aggressive magnetic pull, it doesn't mean you're missing something. It just means your strength is growing somewhere else.
So let's shift gears a bit. Section 2, Power and Quiet Harmony.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can pivot our entire understanding of influence. Let's look at the first of these quiet styles, the coaching type. A coaching leader doesn't just hand you the answer. Nope. Instead, they draw out the potential within others through really careful questions and patient listening. On the surface, I know, this might look slow, maybe even passive. But think about it. Waiting for someone to grow, that requires an immense amount of trust and self-control. It's actually a highly effective, deeply powerful form of leadership, precisely because it empowers the other person to find the answer themselves.
Next up is the servant type. This leader focuses entirely on the foundation. They prioritize the support of those around them, basically noticing who's struggling before a crisis even hits. They're the ones quietly arranging things in the background so the rest of the team can just thrive. It's really all about removing obstacles before people even trip over them. Have you ever noticed how this style builds incredibly resilient, long-lasting organizational structures? It's because the people inside those structures feel deeply, truly supported.
And then we have the affiliative type. This leadership style focuses heavily on human relationships. Have you ever known someone who just naturally softens the atmosphere of a really tense room? That right there is affiliative leadership. They steadily accumulate trust by fixing frayed connections and smoothing out friction. And make no mistake, repairing a damaged relationship within a team, that holds just as much value as aggressively charging forward. They act as the absolute crucial glue that keeps any group from falling apart.
Moving right along to Section 3, your hidden everyday leadership.
Let's actually hold a mirror up to your own life for a second. Think about the last time you were caught in a tense family argument, or maybe a spat between friends. If you were the one who stepped in, you likely performed these 3 exact steps. Step 1, you sensed the awkward air. You read the room. Step 2, you imagined the other person's position, essentially employing high-level empathy. And step 3, you guided the conversation to a safe landing spot without destroying the relationship. You guys, that right there is incredibly advanced emotional labor. It's complex, it's strategic, and it is a pure form of leadership.
Consider these unseen skills you likely already use on a daily basis. Choosing words to protect someone's pride, reading emotions from super subtle facial expressions, adjusting your vocal tone to match the mood of the room, de-escalating conflicts naturally. So the crucial point is, these traits are not just you being a nice person. Actually, scratch that. They are so much more than that. These are actual, rigorous, highly developed leadership skills. If you possess these abilities, your foundation for leading people is already fully formed.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 4. Quiet Leaders Changing the World. If you ever thought for a second that quiet leadership couldn't yield massive, world-changing success, well, the highest levels of global business completely dismantle that idea. We have Eric Schmidt at Google perfectly demonstrating the coaching style, Richard Branson of the Virgin Group utilizing the affiliative style, and the late Tony Hsieh at Zappos championing the servant style. I mean, these are some of the absolute most successful global icons of our time, and literally none of them relied primarily on just barking orders.
Let's look at the exact strategies these titans used. Eric Schmidt didn't give Google engineers constant directives. He elevated the entire company's judgment by asking brilliant questions and basically forcing them to think. Richard Branson built Virgin's massive long-term strength by prioritizing relational trust and shrinking the distance between himself and his employees. Tony Hsieh prioritized Zappos employee satisfaction above all else, knowing that a fully supported team naturally drives massive results. As it turns out, supporting the team scales far, far better than micromanaging them.
This brings us to Section 5, Cultivate Your Own Strength.
Now, how do we actually apply this to our own potential? There's this brilliant quote from the source that illustrates the core trap we all fall into. When the neighbor's grass looks greener, they might be looking at yours feeling the exact same way. And this brilliantly illustrates human nature, right? We focus on what we lack rather than what we have. It is completely natural to occasionally envy the loud, charismatic alpha leader. But comparing your behind-the-scenes harmonizing to their loud highlight reel, that's a huge trap. You don't need to change your grass, you literally just need to realize its value.
So, how do you water your own lawn? First, just let go of the need to be loud. Stop forcing yourself into a charismatic mold that simply doesn't fit you. Next, refine your natural listening skills. Trust your ability to read a room. It's an absolute superpower. And finally, know for a fact that you can absolutely lead your biggest dreams with a quiet style. You don't have to change who you are to achieve incredible things. You just have to polish the harmonizing tools you already possess.
I really want to leave you with this summary straight from our source material. Quietly supporting and reconnecting relationships is a reliable guiding light. You see, leadership is not exclusively about a booming voice pointing aggressively to the horizon. Sometimes leadership is the quiet, steady hand that reconnects the broken pieces, supports the exhausted team member, and lights the way forward through deep, enduring trust.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final essential thought. Now that you know leadership doesn't have to be loud and that your empathy, your patience, and your listening are actual tools of immense influence, what kind of quiet power is waiting to be awakened in you? Thank you so much for watching, and definitely start noticing the incredible ways you already lead every single day.